In 1963, American Express made a decision that would accidentally create one of the most exclusive status symbols in human history. They made their credit card green. That's it, just a color choice, a piece of plastic the shade of money. Within a decade, that green card became a signal that said more about you than your clothes, your car, or your address. It told the world you had arrived. But here's what most people don't realize. American Express isn't really a credit card company. They just want you to think they are. Behind that elegant card in your wallet sits something far more powerful, a data empire so sophisticated that American Express can predict your divorce before your spouse suspects anything. They know when you're about to go bankrupt months before you miss a payment. They've built algorithms that understand your behavior better than you understand yourself. And they've been doing this since before the internet existed. This is the story of how a company that started delivering mail in 1850 became one of the most feared financial institutions on Earth. How they survived wars, depressions, and the rise of Silicon Valley. How they convinced millions of people to pay $695 a year for a piece of metal and feel privileged to do it. This is American Express, and by the end of this video, you'll never look at that card the same way again. Let's rewind to 1850. America is expanding westward. Gold has been discovered in California. But there's a massive problem. How do you move money and valuables across a lawless continent filled with bandits, broken roads, and zero infrastructure? Three men saw an opportunity: Henry Wells, William Fargo, and John Warren Butterfield. Yes, that Wells and Fargo. They would later split off to form the famous bank. But first, they created American Express as an express mail company. They moved packages, gold, currency, and important documents across the country. Think of them as the FedEx of the 1800s, but more dangerous and infinitely more profitable. By the 1880s, American Express had offices across America and was expanding into Europe. They weren't just delivering packages anymore. They were handling money orders, essentially allowing people to send cash safely across distances. This is important. Remember this moment, because American Express learned something that would define their next 150 years. Moving money is more profitable than moving anything else. And the real product isn't the money itself. It's trust. People trusted American Express to get their valuables where they needed to go. That trust was worth more than gold. Now here's where the story takes its first major turn. 1891. An American Express executive named Marcellus Berry is traveling through Europe. He has a problem. He can't access his money. Banks are unreliable. Carrying cash is dangerous. There's no system for an American to easily spend money abroad. Berry invents something revolutionary: the traveler's check, a piece of paper you buy from American Express, preloaded with value, accepted anywhere in the world. If you lose it, American Express replaces it. If someone steals it, they can't use it without your signature. This sounds simple now. In 1891, it was financial witchcraft. Within years, American Express travelers' checks became the de facto currency of international travel. For nearly a century, they dominated this market completely. But here's the hidden genius of the traveler's check, something that made American Express executives very, very rich. When you bought a $1,000 traveler's check, you gave American Express $1,000 in real money. But you might not spend that check for weeks or months. Some people never spent them at all. They'd lose them, forget about them, or keep them as emergency funds. During that time, American Express held your money. They invested it. They earned interest on it. This is called float. And American Express was sitting on billions of dollars of other people's money, making money from money they didn't own. By the 1950s, American Express was holding over $1 billion in unused travelers' checks. At even modest interest rates, that's tens of millions in pure profit every single year. They had discovered the most beautiful business model in finance: get paid to hold other people's money. But travelers' checks had a limitation. You had to plan ahead. You had to buy them before your trip. In 1958, American Express asked a radical question. What if we could give people spending power they didn't have to plan for? What if we could create a card that let them buy now and pay later? the American Express Charge Card launched that year. It wasn't the first credit card. Diners Club beat them by 8 years. But American Express did something Diners Club didn't understand. They made exclusivity the product. You couldn't just apply for an American Express card. You had to be invited. You had to meet income requirements. You had to be the right kind of person. And here's the psychological masterstroke. American Express charged an annual fee. Visa and MasterCard were free. Why would anyone pay for a credit card? Because the fee itself became a status symbol. If you could afford to pay for a card you didn't need to pay for, you were advertising your wealth. Every time you pulled out that green card, you were telling the restaurant, the hotel, the airline, I am someone. American Express understood something that luxury brands have known for centuries. People will pay more for things that cost more because the price is the value. The annual fee wasn't a barrier, it was the point. By the 1970s, American Express realized they needed to stratify their customers even further. Think about it. If everyone who's successful has a green card, how do the really successful people distinguish themselves? 1966, the gold card launches, higher annual fee, higher credit limits, a new tier of exclusivity. 1984, the platinum card, $250 annual fee, outrageous for the time. Invitation only, airport lounge access, concierge services that would book you impossible restaurant reservations and find sold-out concert tickets. The Platinum Card wasn't just a payment method, it was a personal assistant that lived in your wallet. But the real genius came in 1999. Rumors started circulating about a new card, blacked out, completely dark, no credit limit whatsoever. Invitation only, and American Express would never confirm who had one. The Centurion Card. The Black Card. American Express claims they created it in response to an urban legend that there existed a secret card for the ultra-wealthy. The legend wasn't true, so American Express made it true. The initiation fee? $10,000. The annual fee? Currently $5,000. The spending limit? There isn't one. Want to buy a $2 million painting? Go ahead. Want to charter a private jet at 3 a.m.? The concierge will handle it. There are reports of black card holders buying entire car dealership inventories, purchasing houses, even buying airplanes, all on the card. Estimates suggest there are only about 100,000 Centurion card holders worldwide. To be considered, you reportedly need to spend at least $250,000 per year on an existing American Express card. But here's what's fascinating. The black card probably isn't even profitable on its own. The fees might not cover the concierge services, the benefits, the customer service infrastructure required for clients who expect perfection. So why does it exist? Because every millionaire who doesn't have one wants one. Every platinum card holder spends more hoping to get noticed. The black card makes every other card more valuable by existing at the top of the pyramid. It's a marketing expense disguised as a product. And it might be the most brilliant marketing expense in financial history. Now let's talk about what American Express actually sells, because it's not what you think. Yes, they make money from annual fees. Yes, they make money from interest when people carry balances, but those aren't their biggest revenue sources. American Express charges merchants between 2.5% and 3.5% of every transaction to accept their cards. Visa and MasterCard charge around 1.5% to 2%. This is called the swipe fee or interchange fee. And it's been the source of billion-dollar lawsuits, congressional investigations, and corporate warfare for decades. Why would any merchant agree to pay nearly double the fees? Because American Express card holders spend more, a lot more. The average American Express customer spends approximately $22,000 per year on their card. The average Visa customer? About $8,000. American Express customers are wealthier, more loyal, and more willing to make impulse purchases. For many merchants, the higher fee is worth it to access these customers, but not for everyone. In 2016, Costco, one of the largest retailers in America, ended a 16-year exclusive partnership with American Express. They switched to Visa. The reason? American Express refused to lower their fees. This was a disaster for American Express. Costco represented about 8% of their total card transactions. When the partnership ended, American Express lost over 10 million co-branded cardholders overnight. Their stock dropped. Analysts questioned whether their high-fee model could survive. American Express did survive. But the Costco breakup revealed something important. Their model only works as long as they maintain the perception of exclusivity. The moment they become just another credit card, the premium evaporates. But here's the part of American Express that should genuinely unsettle you. The data. Every time you swipe your American Express card, you're not just making a purchase, you're feeding one of the most sophisticated consumer surveillance systems ever created. American Express knows what you buy, where you buy it, when you buy it, and how much you spend. They know your patterns, they know your habits, they know your secrets. In 2010, American Express filed a patent for a system that predicts consumer behavior based on spending patterns. The patent specifically mentions identifying customers likely to default on their debts. But it goes further. Former American Express data scientists have revealed that their algorithms can predict major life events with disturbing accuracy. They know when you're about to have a baby based on your purchases. They know when you're planning a divorce. They know when you're developing a gambling problem. In 2008, American Express sent letters to certain cardholders reducing their credit limits. The official reason? Economic uncertainty. But the New York Times reported that some customers received these letters because of where they shopped. American Express had determined that people who shopped at certain stores, discount retailers for example, were higher default risks, not because of their payment history, not because of their credit score, because of where they bought their groceries. They were using spending patterns to predict future behavior and making credit decisions based on predictions, not facts. This is the business American Express is really in, not credit cards, not payments, data. And they've been perfecting it for decades. Let's talk about how American Express almost died, twice. 1963, the salad oil scandal. A con artist named Tino DeAngelis convinced American Express's warehousing subsidiary that he had millions of dollars worth of vegetable oil in storage tanks. American Express issued receipts for this oil. Banks used those receipts as collateral for loans. There was no oil. The tanks were filled with water with a thin layer of oil on top. When the scheme collapsed, American Express was on the hook for $150 million, the equivalent of nearly $1.5 billion today. Shareholders panicked. The stock crashed. A relatively unknown investor named Warren Buffett saw an opportunity. He recognized that American Express's real asset, the brand, the trust, the customer relationships, was intact. He bought a massive stake. It became one of Buffett's most famous investments. He still holds American Express stock today. His company, Berkshire Hathaway, is now the largest shareholder, with a stake worth over $25 billion. The second near-death experience came in 2008. When Lehman Brothers collapsed, the entire financial system froze. American Express was not a bank. They were a credit card company. This meant they didn't have access to Federal Reserve emergency lending. Within days, American Express converted themselves into a bank holding company. This gave them access to government bailout funds through TARP. They took $3.4 billion in taxpayer money to survive. Some called it a bailout. American Express called it a strategic restructuring. They repaid the money within a year, with interest. But the 2008 crisis revealed how vulnerable American Express actually was. They had spent decades positioning themselves as different from banks, premium, exclusive, above the common financial fray. When the crisis hit, they were just as desperate as everyone else. Now, let's examine their current empire. American Express today processes over $1.4 trillion in transactions annually. They have over 130 million cards in circulation. Their market capitalization exceeds $150 billion, but they're under attack from every direction. Visa and MasterCard have been aggressively moving upmarket, offering premium cards with similar benefits to American Express. Chase's Sapphire Reserve and Capital One's Venture X have siphoned off customers who want prestige without the American Express fees. Meanwhile, companies like Apple, Google, and PayPal are trying to eliminate the credit card entirely. Younger consumers use Venmo and Cash App. They don't care about status. They don't want to pay annual fees for airport lounges. American Express's response? Double down on exactly what made them successful. They've made the Platinum card so valuable that it's almost irrational not to have one. If you travel enough, the travel credits, the hotel status, the airport lounge access, the purchase protections, mathematically, heavy travelers can get more value than the $6.95 annual fee. This is intentional. They want customers who spend six figures a year and barely notice the annual fee. They're not interested in everyone. American Express has also aggressively expanded into business payments, corporate travel, and small business lending. Their business cards often carry even higher fees than their personal cards, and businesses pay them without blinking. The strategy is clear. If they can't be the biggest, they'll be the most profitable. If they can't have the most customers, they'll have the richest ones. Here's what keeps American Express executives awake at night. Younger generations don't carry cash. They barely carry physical wallets. Their phone is their payment method. If Apple Pay or Google Pay becomes the default way people transact, the physical card becomes irrelevant. And if the card is irrelevant, so is the status it conveys. American Express is betting that human psychology doesn't change, that people will always want to signal their success, that the desire for exclusivity is hardwired into our species. They might be right. Or technology might finally kill the status symbol that's printed on a piece of plastic. What's certain is this: American Express has survived for 175 years by understanding something most companies never grasp. They don't sell a product, they sell an identity. Every green card holder believes they're on their way up. Every gold card holder believes they've arrived. Every platinum member believes they're elite. Every black card holder believes they're untouchable. None of this is true. A credit card is just a payment method, a piece of plastic or metal that moves numbers from one account to another. But American Express convinced generations of Americans that how you pay determines who you are. And for that illusion, people have paid hundreds of billions of dollars over the decades. So the next time you see that Centurion logo, that Roman soldier who's been guarding the brand since 1958, ask yourself a question. Are you a customer, or are you the product? American Express knows your income. They know your spending. They know your habits, your weaknesses, your aspirations. They've built a $150 billion empire by knowing you better than you know yourself. And they're betting you'll keep paying for the privilege of being known. The question is, are they right?